Number 1, you are looking for scale factor. Remember, scale factor is image over pre-image, which is the new over the old. Okay? Now, you have a lot of options here. We have typically chosen just the A coordinate. We picked one of the coordinates. So A, for instance, is 9, 3, and A prime is 3, 1. Okay, so A and A prime, we're choosing one of the coordinates. Then you're choosing either the X or the Y. So we've been choosing the X just because it's the first one that it comes across.
Thank you.
New over old. The new is the one with the prime. So you should have 3 over 9, which reduces to 1 over 3. If you have 3 over 1, it is wrong. Okay, because it's the new over the old. If I would have chosen the Y coordinates, what would my answer have been? 1 over 3, right? I'd get the same thing. If I chose a different letter, so if I chose B and B prime, I am still going to get the same answer. Okay, it doesn't matter which one you choose, just make sure it's new over the old. Are we okay with that? For number 2, you are applying scale factor. So you're multiplying 0.5 by the coordinates, but we don't know what those coordinates are. So you need to find them on the graph. So 3, negative 3, negative 1, 0, negative 4, and negative 3, negative 3 are your initial coordinates. And then you're going to apply the scale factor of 0.5, giving you negative 1.5 comma negative 1.5, 0, negative 2, and negative 1.5 comma negative 1 point. I'm sorry, this should be a 0.5. Negative 0.5. Sorry. What should happen to my figure? It should get smaller, right? Because my scale factor is 1/2. It's less than 1. So when I graph, negative 1.5, negative 0.5 is B prime. 0, negative 2 is C prime. And negative 1.5, negative 1.5 is U prime, and this should be your new figure. Still a triangle, it's just a smaller triangle. Still okay? Okay. Number 3. Same thing. What should happen here though? You multiply by 1.5, so that means my figure is going to get larger. So your initial points are negative 1, negative 1, negative 2, 2, 3, 1, and 2, negative 1. And when you multiply by 1.5, you end up with negative 1.5 comma negative 1.5, negative 3, 3, 4.5, 1.5, and 3, negative 1.5. You need a graph. So here's N prime, G prime, Z prime, T prime. Your figure should be the same shape, just larger. You still okay? Okay. Let's look at number 4. So number 4 is nice because it gives you a similarity statement. So for instance, if I want to look at QR, what is QR going to match up with? DC, which is 2x minus 18. And then that means 12 and 8 match up, right? I am going to simplify just to make my life easier. So I know 4 goes into 12 3 times. It goes into 8 twice. Now I'm going to cross multiply. So 30 equals 6x minus 54. Add 54 to both sides, so 84 equals 6x. Divide by 6, x equals 14. So as you are solving these problems, my expectation is that you write a proportion, that you show me work to solve the proportion, and that you have a final answer. Do not do it all in your calculator. That you need to show me your work. I give partial points, and so if you mess up somewhere, I can give you partial points if you show me work. Mm-hmm.
So, what if you did that but you got a different proportion? Like, you chose the
What's your proportion?
12 and right, and then 15 for 2x minus 18.
That's what I have.
Oh.
I just have it backwards.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. So if your proportion's slightly different, depending on what it is, it should still work out. Your proportion can be completely upside down. You could have compared two different things. I've been very consistent about comparing the small triangle to the big triangle because you have to do that on the back side when we're trying to figure out if the triangles are similar. Okay, so I'm trying to be very consistent with that. Number 5. Small triangle to big triangle. So on this side, the small triangle is 8 plus x. What's the big triangle? 60. Small triangle is 15. Big triangle is 50. I know 5 goes into 15 3 times and into 50 10 times. From there, I'm going to cross multiply. So 180 equals 80 plus 10x. If I subtract 80, I get 100 equals 10x, which means x equals 10. So if your proportion's different and you still got x equals 10, you're okay. If your proportion's different and you did not get x equals 10, then you don't have the right proportion. Questions on 5? Number 6. What is JS going to be proportional to? JS matches with US. So that's 66, which means 40 and 48 match. 8 goes into 45 times, 8 goes into 48 6 times. When I cross multiply, I get 330 equals 30x minus 60. Add 60 to both sides. 390 equals 30x. Divide by 30, x equals 13. What? Do we not get x equals 13? What proportion do you have? (48 over 40 equals 66 over 5x minus 10? Then, so your proportion's literally just flipped upside down? So you did your math wrong somewhere, because you should get the exact same answer. Did you distribute, okay, so first question, did you simplify before you cross multiplied? No, okay. Did you multiply 48 times 5x and by negative 10? Okay. So let's see. 40 times 66 is 2,640 equals 240x minus 480. Watch your signs, because that'll mess you up. Did you get a decimal?
No, I got 9.
Oh, it still worked out to a whole number?
Yeah.
If you get a decimal, I am 99% sure there are no decimals when you solve these proportions on your test. So just be cautious of that. Okay, any other questions on the front side? No? Back side. Number 7, you are looking at the similarity statement and writing all the angles that are congruent and all the sides that are proportional. So you should have angle A is congruent to angle D, Angle B is congruent to angle E, and angle C is congruent to angle F. Make sure you have the angle symbol. Make sure you have the congruent symbol. Now you also need to do sides. So AB is similar to DE. BC is similar to EF. And AC is similar to DF. If your letters are out of order, that's okay. You may have different letter combinations. You just have to be consistent. Questions on that one? No? Okay. If you are going to lose points tomorrow, here is where you're going to lose points. And it's not because you don't know how to do it, it's because you don't know how to follow directions. Okay, so make sure that you pay attention to what my expectation is. It's what I've been doing this entire time. So, before we even look at a problem, what are the three ways to prove triangles are similar? Side, angle, side. Side, side, side. Angle, angle. The nice thing is you can eliminate one, if not two, of these possibilities super easily. So looking at this figure, which one can I eliminate right away? Side, side, side. How come? There's not a third side. But I do see sides and angles, which means my only option is side, angle, side. Or that's probably my best option. I expect you to write side, angle, side just like that. I have been writing it like that since the day we took notes. Because then that allows you to fill in information. So I need to compare a side. So for instance, what would 40 compare to in the bigger triangle? 40 and 64. And does 40 over 64 reduce? Yes? By 8, so 5 over 8. Okay, let's do the other side. What's the other side? 60 over 96. And what does that reduce by? 12, which is 5 over 8. Perfect. I want them to be the same. If you flipped it upside down and you have 8 over 5, that's okay. You just went big to small. I'm going small to big. But they both should be the same. So, for instance, on the test, if you get 5 over 8 on one and then 8 over 5 on the other, make sure that you started with the same triangle both times and fix it. Because if they're that close, they should probably be the same. Is there an angle that's congruent? Yeah. B and E. It has the two markings. You were able to fill in all three pieces, which means those triangles are similar, and we're going to write a similarity statement. So triangle EFG is similar to what triangle? EFG would be similar to B, C, D. Okay, this is what I expect to see. I expect to see which one of the three you're using. I expect you to fill in as much information as possible. There may be times where you can't fill it in and your answer would be not similar. And then if it's similar, you write a similarity statement. I have been doing this since we took the notes for this, right? This is exactly how I set it up, which means this is how I want to see you set it up. Are we okay with that? Okay. Number 9. What should I use for this one? What? Side, side, side. I would use that. I see all three sides. I think that would be... So, you can use side, angle, side. I will get to that one in a second. Let's start with side, 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 because that's the most obvious one to me, right? So let's start on this side. What is the small triangle? 10. Right? Here's the small triangle. What is the whole triangle? 20. Which reduces to 1/2. Okay? What is the small triangle? How do you know it's 11? because I don't see anything here. 22, which is the whole thing, minus this piece, which is 11, makes that piece 11. That's not always going to be half and be perfect, but the big piece minus the small piece is going to give you another small piece. So the small triangle is 11, the large triangle is 22, which reduces to 1/2. My last side length is 12 over 24, which reduces to 1/2. Right? All of them are the same. If I write my similarity statement, I'm going to call it triangle KAL. What triangle does that match with? CAB. Now, side, side, side works. Side, angle, side also works for this one. So just look real quick because you do have an option. Now, I'm going to use this side, which I already know is 11 over 22 and reduces to 1/2. That's my first side. And I'm going to use this side, which is 10 over 20, which reduces to 1/2. That's my second side. What angle is congruent? Angle A is congruent to itself. Okay, so you have to use side, angle, side. Oops, I should do it this way. Side, angle, side. But that is also accurate. Both of those work. I just saw side, side, side first. We okay with that one? Okay. Number 10. What should I use? Angle, angle. It's the only one because there is no information about the sides. You need to write angle, angle. And you need to fill in everything you can possibly fill in. Are there any angles that are congruent? R and R. Are there any other angles that are congruent? No. So you stop and you write not similar. But you have to have this information to get full credit. It's easy to write not similar. This is telling me why it's not similar. Just like in the last unit, you have to show me, you have to prove why it's not similar. That shows me exactly why. Again, not difficult, but if you don't follow directions, you lose points, and that's going to just be crappy. Last one. What do you think we should use here? Side, angle, side? Okay. So let's start on this side. What's the small triangle? 8. What's the big triangle? No. 56. The whole thing is 56. 48 is just this piece. It's the part of the big triangle. It is not the big triangle. Okay, so make sure that you're using the small triangle to the big triangle. So 8 over 56 is 1/7. What's the small triangle here? 10 over 70, which reduces to 1/7. Now, you got 1/6, but that is not the ratio for each of the triangles. That's the ratio for the pieces. Okay, so be very cautious. Small triangle to big triangle. Are there angles that are congruent? Angle Q. So triangle AQB is similar to triangle what? SQR, good. Any questions on the practice test? No? Okay, so let's go through what's on your test. So you need to know different ways to write ratios, right? You can write it as a fraction, you can write it as a colon. You should be able to simplify those ratios. There are also a couple problems that are just basic proportion problems. They are already set up for you. You just need to solve them. So cross multiply and solve. Okay? You need to know how to read a similarity statement. So I won't give you a problem exactly like this where you have to fill in all the information, but I'll give you a similarity statement and say angle F is congruent to angle fill in the blank. Okay? So you know how to read it, but I'm not going to expect you to do every piece of it. You have a scale factor problem, so you need to be able to apply a scale factor. Remember that if it's greater than 1, your figure gets larger. If it's between 0 and 1, your figure gets smaller. You also have one, like number 1, where you need to find the scale factor. Remember, it is image over pre-image. Now I'm going to give you a hint to this one, and I'm going to use number 2 as an example. Do you see that my image, there are points that are like in the middle of the boxes? I'm at 1.5. There are points in your figures tomorrow that are in the middle of the boxes. Don't use those points. Find the point that is exactly on the box. So if I was looking at this picture here and I wanted the scale factor, which points would be the easiest ones to use that are on each of the boxes? That are not in the middle of the box? Out of these points here, which one is on the box? What letter? C. C and C prime lie directly on a box. It's not a 1.5 or a 0.5. Do you see what I'm saying? Use the easiest points. Do not use the difficult points for that problem. So that is your hint for tomorrow. Easy points. Okay? There is a problem exactly like number 5 from your practice test and like number 4 from your practice test. There is also a problem that will look something like this. And you need to set up a proportion. This was on your review assignment that we did, and we went over this. How would I set up this proportion? So there are 3 problems where you have to prove the triangles are similar. Angle, angle, side, 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 angle, side. If they're not similar, fill in as much as you can and write not similar. If they are similar, you have to write a similarity statement. So you have a 13 question test. And I just told you exactly what was on it. And it looks identical to your practice test with a few additions.